Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls. Welcome to Tales with TR episode 258B. It's good to be with you guys, and my guest is coming right up. I needed to test the internet here to make sure it's working. I think we're back on track. Ready to go. Wayne Primeau, 7 NHL teams, almost 800 games. I went all the way to the Stanley Cup final with Buffalo. I can't wait to hear about that. Won a Calder Cup with Rochester. First round pick, big guy, two-way player, and sniped 76 goals in the National Hockey League. Not too shabby. Looking forward to that. And like I said, I'll be in Calgary this weekend for the Alzheimer's Classic. I'll be in Saskatoon on the June 6th to the 8th. I'll actually be in Moncton May 29th to the 2nd. We're doing some it's Alzheimer's this weekend. Moncton is Heart and Stroke, raising money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. And of course, Saskatoon will be hockey helps it's another Heart and Stroke, actually. So there you go. Follow Terry Ryan 2020. I'll keep you up to date on all of that. And if you're in either area or you're even close, please come say hi. I'll be in Barrie later this summer, in Toronto, Chris Nyland Golf Tournament in Montreal. I'll be in PEI as well for the Boys and Girls Club Fiesta, extravaganza, whatever the hell they call it. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. And I'll be there soon. I just wanted to see if my computer works. Okay, it does. Wayne Primeau coming right up. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest was a first-round pick and starred in the OHL for Owen Sound in Oshawa before moving on to the NHL, but not before winning a Calder Cup in 1996 with the Rochester Americans. His American League career would be short-lived, however, and he'd soon after start an NHL career that saw him play almost 800 games, over 15 seasons with 7 teams. Now, amongst other things, he attends various hockey-related fundraising events all over North America to causes ranging from helping the homeless to specific disease research and everything in between. He is a great guy, a physical forward, a dynamite dad, a terrific teammate, a proud player, a fantastic fundraiser. He gave him hell in the OHL. Wouldn't you know? He was drafted to the show. 95 stats scroll, 1 game, 1 goal. He got his feet wet slow, but made his mark in Buffalo. He doesn't smoke Colts, but he played for the Bolts. He has lots of friends and played for the Pens. Tough dogs have big barks, and he also played for the San Jose Sharks. Rome has ruins, and this cat played for the Bruins. My middle name is James, and he also played for the Flames. Charleston has Chiefs, and he finished with the Leafs. Word to your mother, he once fought his brother. Folks, you find money on the street, you can call it free dough. Please welcome to the show my buddy Wayne Primeau.
Nicely done, man. Good job.
You're an inspiring guy.
How long did that take you?
Honestly, when I get up in the morning, when I have a new guest, I have 2 puffs of a joint and a coffee, and then I let myself go. Yeah, and then whatever comes to my head. Yeah, takes about 10 or 20 minutes, I suppose.
That was awesome. I love it.
Well, there's quirks. I took my career ended ultra early. I went back to school and I got a folklore degree, and part of that was creative writing. And there are little tricks of the trade to quickly get a few rhymes down.
Nice,
thanks for joining today. By the way, what are you up to this weekend?
Thanks for having me. Actually heading north to the cottage. Going to open it up. Haven't been up yet. Had some renovations done, so there's got to be a little bit of purging and cleaning up to get things kind of situated.
Beautiful. Are you up Muskoka way like so many other ex-NHLers?
We are not, actually. I'm up in a town called Hanover.
I know where that is.
It's like up near Owen Sound, Sauble Beach way. My father parents lived in Kincardine, and my parents used to always go visit them, and they just felt that they were intruding by staying with them all the time. So they ended up finding this spot on a lake where they had actually a high school as a project build their cottage, and obviously renovations over the years. But that's where we grew up as kids. And then my brother bought one probably 35 years ago, and on the same lake, in the middle of the lake. And then I bought one 30 years ago at the other end of the lake. So it's a small lake. There's like 35 cottages on it. And we spent most of our summers there, and spend most of our weekends there when we can.
You grew up, I just know from Hockey DB.
Yep.
Is it Scarborough?
No, so I was born in Scarborough, but we grew up in Whitby. So we lived in Markham till I was 5 years old. And then we moved to Whitby. My dad worked at the Pickering hydro power plant. So he wanted to be closer. So we moved to Whitby, and then that's pretty much where I played all my minor hockey.
Okay, which leads me to question number 1 of 10. So, were you a big physical presence growing up? Because I know
Right.
it's a big part of your game, big, strong game, two-way. And what number would you have gone then in the OHL draft?
So was I big and physical? I wouldn't. I mean, I think that actually as a kid growing up, I was more always known for my offense. But as I got older and being a bigger guy, then the physical part is brought into it. And then in terms of where I was drafted 4th overall to Owen Sound. And that time they were called the Platers, and now they're obviously called the Attack.
Interesting. Yeah, I wondered. I mean, because you got some sweet mitts, but you never really know. People grow, and Ontario is so big, and in Newfoundland, it's easier to track. Alex Newhook's growing up. Hey, I can go and say, okay, this guy's probably going to make it to the mainland. I can pretty much sort out all the guys that and girls that are going to go away and play by the time they're 13 and 14.
Yeah,
but you went fourth.
Newhook actually he moved to Ontario and he played for York Simcoe and went to St. Andrews College.
Yeah.
So because he's the same age as my oldest boy. He's in 2001. So
interesting.
Yeah. So 4th overall, it was Jeff O'Neill was number 1. I think Brett Lindros was number 2. And then a guy by the name of Bill McCauley was number 3.
I remember that. I remember running into O'Neill at the Quebec Pee Wee tournament.
Yeah.
92, 93. And I don't know if I've ever seen a Pee Wee that hyped. Now, we were at the biggest tournament in the world, and I'm sure a few years before that it would have been more for Lindros or
right.
But so were you and O'Neill then? Did you grow up as rivals, or did you play each other?
So not really, because actually Jeff was the old dog was he was playing with King City, and King City was like honestly like I think it might have been a C or like a B center. Like it wasn't. But I remember being in Whitby, we were AA, and my dad was coaching us. And they set up an exhibition game against, so we're Whitby AA versus King City, who's like, again, it was like a B team or something like that. We went in there and we got spanked, which is crazy because we had a good team, but and the old dog I think had, I don't know, 4 to 6 goals. Something like that. Like he was a really good player. I mean, he could score goals. He could, he thought the game. He was a smooth skater. And he scored a lot. He scored 40 goals, I think, once, maybe twice in the NHL in the season. But he was a guy that I think that I don't think we saw the best of him. Like I don't know if he did as much training off the ice than he probably could have or should have. Which could have made him even that much better.
Yeah, it is wild. I've heard that. And to score, I mean, I look down at the stats once in a while. I'm like, shit, he's still put together like lots of 30s and 40 goal seasons, man. So then you grew up. I didn't know your dad coached you. So did your dad play the game, or just really a big fan and attentive?
Yeah. So he would alternate both between Keith and myself. He'd play some games, or he'd coach some games, some seasons with Keith, like for a year or two, and then he would move over to my team and coach my team for a year or two and like go back and forth. But he never played at a high level. I think he played maybe intermediate hockey or whatever, but he was just he just studied the game and was very knowledgeable of it.
Interesting. So you go to Owen Sound, similar to your NHL career.
Yeah.
Go 4 years Owen Sound, then you finish in Oshawa, which is close to home.
Yeah.
NHL career, you play majority of it away, but you end up in Toronto, which is close to home. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But Owen Sound, so it's. I had a friend actually play there for a little bit, Kurt Walsh. We left home together, and Kurt played a year with you at least.
Yeah.
So how was that? A lot of people, you hear about these teams that go back so far, and Owen Sound is one of those places. They haven't won the Memorial Cup much, if ever. I could be wrong there. But, you don't hear much about it. How's that for a place to play junior?
So I think they used to get a real bad rap because most OHL cities have universities.
Mm,
So kids, once they're done their high school and they're able to maybe do some classes in university, or maybe take some online or whatever it might be. And it's a small town. But honestly, I used to go watch my brother play when he was with Niagara Falls Thunder, and they would be going in the playoffs and play Owen Sound. And every game that I went to up there, it was a packed house,
yeah.
and they really supported the team. And so when I got drafted there, I was ecstatic. I was super excited about going there. And fortunately, I lived with a family that was great to me, and took care of me. I had a whole bedroom up in the attic that had my own bathroom, walk-in closet. So I was spoiled. I had my own phone line. At that time, we didn't have cell phones, right? And
Yeah.
I had my own TV, and I still stay in touch with my billet brother. He stood up in my
Nice.
wedding, stood up at my wedding and stuff. So it honestly, it's a great place. I really enjoyed it, and all the small surrounding towns there, they all are. They all support it, and every game was, they played their home games on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays were decent crowds, but Saturdays were always really good, always really good. So I loved my time there. I loved playing in Own Sound, and they've come a long way. Like they went to the Mem Cup the one year,
Yeah.
where they had who they have. I think they had in net. I think Bennington was in net, and they had what's the guy that played for Chicago that won the cups and stuff?
Which Boland?
No, no.
They had
Pest. He was a pest.
Andrew Shaw.
Yeah, Andrew Shaw. Andrew Shaw was there, and
Oh
they
yeah,
had
I
they had a
should
they
have
had a
known that.
real they had a really. I think Garrett Wilson, who's the captain in Lehigh, I think he was there. So they had a pretty good team. I think McDermott was even there at that time as well. So they were an abrasive, physical team, but they also had scoring as well. So, and then Nick Suzuki's another guy that played
Yeah.
there with Gadjevich, who's with Florida, and so they've come a long way. They've come a long way.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good spot to play junior. Some of those places that are off the beaten path. And so, what about Oshawa? Did you request that to
I
go to
I
your
did
home?
I did, yeah, I did. Every year I was in Own Sound, we always won in the first round, and then come the second round, we always seemed to get swept. But it was always against the team like the Sioux Greyhounds that would go on to the Memorial Cup, or the Detroit Junior Red Wings who would go on to the Memorial Cup. Like, so we always lost to the team that would win the league or whatever. But it was my last year. I really wanted an opportunity to win, and I didn't feel that we had that in Owen Sound my last year. In hindsight, I ended up getting traded to Oshawa, which obviously I got to live at home with my parents for the last
Yeah.
part of the season. And then Mark Savard got injured, I think like 3 games into my time with Oshawa. He had broken his ankle, so that was a big loss. And then we ended up playing Belleville in the first round, who had like Daniel Cleary.
Yeah.
Richard Park played most of the year that year in the NHL with the Penguins, and then he was sent back. And who else was there? They had
Clary
a really
Mills Secord, wasn't it? The
Yep,
fireman
yep,
line?
yep, yep. Ryan Secor was there. Yep,
Yeah.
and Craig Mills, who was a high pick to
Yeah.
to Winnipeg. So they had a really good team, and we ended up. I was suspended for the first. I got suspended my last game of the regular season, so I missed the first 2 games. I got suspended for the first 2 games of the playoffs, and then we ended up losing in 6, unfortunately. And then, I guess the positive thing is that after the season was done, I ended up going up to Rochester, and 8 games of the regular season, and then 17 of the 19 playoff games, and winning a Calder Cup.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible. So you go up. I remember coming up from junior in one of those situations and
yeah,
playing in the AHL,
yeah,
and it was a lot to take in. I remember going, because the game is faster, of course, but
yep,
it's everybody is, they're older and they're more mature as people, but as
mature. Yep,
players, they're
yep,
stronger. And I found it was very similar to getting up in the NHL for the first time in terms of, just entering a new situation, and it's pro, But I mean, I can't imagine going. And I did play the first round. We lost to St. John. Dwayne Rolliston stood on his head.
Right.
But I can't imagine going and winning it. So you win the championship. I mean, who were the leaders on that team? It must have been a phenomenal experience. You
Yeah.
join the ride halfway through and you end up winning.
It really is. I mean, it is a tough situation too. I'm I'm still I'm trying to think of, I'm 19 years old. I haven't even turned 20 yet. And all of a sudden, you're going to the American League, and there's 8 games left in the regular season, but then you have guys that have been there all season, right? Playing, and then all of a sudden now, come playoffs, they're taken out of the lineup and you're inserted, and I think it took some time for the adjustment in terms of like, again, I don't know, you're welcomed, but at the same time, like, you haven't been there all year and now you're taking their place, right?
Yeah, man.
So that became tough, and like you said, it is, you're a boy playing against amongst men. The game's faster. Guys are stronger. There's definitely an adjustment, but anyways, it was a great experience. But we had the likes of like Dixon Ward. We had a guy by the name of Craig Sharon.
I played with Craig.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago.
Yeah. Brian Holzinger, an NHL veteran, Dan Frawley.
Yeah.
Scott Metcalf, Scotty Nickel, who's I think is assistant GM with the Nashville Predators, and he's the GM of the Milwaukee Admirals. Smaller guy, but heart of a lion. Just was and then we had in net we had Steve Shields. We had another guy named Dane Jackson, who I believe is an assistant coach in North Dakota. We had Curtis Brown and Václav Varada, who had just finished their junior season, so they had come up as well, and they were kind of in and out of the lineup as well. On the back end, we had Ruben Ender, who was a big tough physical presence.
Fuck, he was underrated, I thought.
Yeah, and then Terry Hollinger. We had Dougie Huda. I mean, I'm missing some names and stuff, but it was a great group. I mean, we played Adirondack in the first round. We won 3 straight. We played the next round. We played the Cornwall. I can't remember what the Cornwall
Aces, was it?
Yeah, it might have been the Aces. Yeah, or Cornwall Saints or Cornwall Aces, something like that. Anyways, we ended up beating them 4 straight. And then we played Syracuse Crunch and we beat them in 5. And then we played Portland in the finals and we won in 7, game 7.
Fuck yeah, that must have been some. Do you have the ring?
You know what? I actually do. But I had given it to my father. And so he wore it proudly. He wore it everywhere. He got a lot of compliments and a lot of questions on it and stuff. And he's actually got a little bit of dementia, Alzheimer's, and so he's getting older, and his hands are shrinking, so it was starting to fall off, and so my mom gave it back to me actually a few weeks ago.
Wow, geez. Well, sorry to hear that. I'm glad though. I'm glad he fucking wore it. Like, a lot of people put him away, and
yeah.
I mean, they're there to be worn, and my dad wears some of mine too.
Yeah. So,
wow, that's wild. Okay, so listen, on the way there though, one game in Buffalo. One game you get called up as an 19-year-old.
So it was after my 3rd year junior. The Buffalo Sabres called myself up after the season finished and Curtis Brown after the season finished, and we got to practice with the team, and we would go on the road and sometimes take warm up and just get the feel of what it's like to be an NHL player, the experience and hanging around the veterans. Like, I was rooming on the road. I was rooming with Pat LaFontaine, which was so surreal. Like,
fuck yeah.
So, and then, like I said, taking warm up, and last game of the season, they were playing New Jersey, and Curtis Brown was told right away he was playing. At that time, I wasn't playing, and so the guys always went over to Chef's. It's a little Italian place downtown.
Yeah, great spot.
Yeah, where we'd have our pregame meals and stuff, and so I was over there eating with the guys, and I wasn't supposed to play and stuff, and then I can't remember if I ended up getting a call, or someone told me or whatever that I was going to be playing. So I found out at the restaurant, and I was super stoked. Went back and barely slept, and to the hotel and barely slept, and then we played Jersey and scored my first goal, and they say it was against Marty Brodeur, but it wasn't. I think he got pulled early on, and it was Chris Terreri that was in net. And yeah, it was old Buffalo Auditorium, pretty nerve wracking. As an 18-year-old and living out your dream, to get an opportunity to play in the NHL, and legs were shaking, and talk about the speed and everything else going as an 18-year-old from junior to the NHL. It was an eye opener.
Man, and the snipe in the first game, that's the thing. Like, fuck, that must have been wild. Now you found out late, so your family probably wasn't there, were they?
I'm trying to think. I don't. Well, I mean, because we Buffalo to Toronto, my Whitby or whatever. It's not that far. So, but I honestly can't remember if my parents ended up coming or not. To be honest, I can't recall if they were able to make it or not. But yeah, it was. I thought, oh man, this is easy. And the next thing you know, I didn't score my next goal for another 25 games.
Now, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's wild. That's why it's just wild that you got one in the first.
Yeah.
So you come into the fucking show, man. You got Burnaby, Bugner, Ray, Daryl Shannon, Galley. These guys all have you got 5-6 guys with over 100 penalty minutes.
Yeah.
Some guys with just under. You 45 games, 67 minutes. You were on pace for well over. What was that? You're coming into the show is one thing. Coming in, and a lot of these guys are younger, and they're kind of a little bit older than you, but like in Barnaby's case, and
yeah,
and I guess you're coming in with Curtis Brown and these guys. Curtis Brown, a good Western leaguer.
Yeah.
So there's a good mix on that team. There's a few guys younger. You're coming in, but to a person, you're almost going. You know what? We're gonna play physical. I'm gonna take some liberties all year, and we're gonna be ready to back it up. So. Yeah. Because I know that kind of explained the era, but Buffalo, even for that era, for many years, were very action versus reaction. So how did you deal with that? Was it fun? Was it something you had to get your head around? You're a big guy, but I mean,
I was a first rounder. My draft year I had 75 points. The next year I had almost 100 points. So it just it was one of those things where. I would fight. It wasn't my first choice. I'd rather score goals, but at the same time, I would stick up for myself. I'd stick up for teammates.
And you had reason to, because they're starting stuff. If you went to Tampa right off the bat or something, it would have been different, because down there it was different. But,
it was again, our team had so many line brawls. Especially with the Flyers, but like you said, we had Brad May, we had Rob Ray, we had Bob Bugner, we had Matthew Barnaby. So every team we played, if they didn't have a tough guy or any toughness, which was very rare back then, teams would call up from the minors. They would call up their tough guys from the minors.
Yeah, true.
So our line would be, and we play the Flyers, we'd be facing off a line of Daniel Lacroix, Scotty Daniels, and Dan Kordick. So it was every game was an adventure for sure. But our team, again, I always say, the year we went to the Stanley Cup Finals, were we the best team? Do we have the most skilled players? No, but we worked, and we also had the best goalie in the world with Dominic Hasek. And that was huge. But I think teams hated to play us because we just made it miserable every time they came in.
And you guys were, I think, too. You're not alone there. There's lots of guys on that team that had all kinds of scoring success. You just bought into a system, and that's the way she goes, right? Even on the Barnaby, people laugh. I'm like, look at his junior stats, man. This guy scored.
Barney. Yeah, it was probably underrated in terms of his offensive ability. I mean, but for him to you make the career that he did. I mean, he did whatever it took. He literally did. He fought monstrous guys that were, way bigger than him, had no right to fight. But, very rarely did I ever see him get beat up. Like he was very smart. He was, his conditioning in terms of the length of his fights. I mean, he could just, he could time them or whatever in terms of like let them wear down, and then next thing you know he's getting the better of them because he would kind of play it out that way, right? But I mean, I think he scored a year or two that I played with him. I think he scored 20 goals or if not close to it, like, which is not an easy feat in the NHL.
No, not at all. A lot of you guys, man, are underrated. I mean, to the point that a lot of people even forget now. You went to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic Hasek, who I agree. Yes, I mean, there's so many great goalies, but I remember playing during that era, and I remember watching that, and I trying to tell people like, it's one thing because right after that, the like big goalie era came in where you couldn't pick a spot because their gear was so big.
Right.
And Hasek was like reactive. Like this guy was like bouncing all over the place, shortstop. Like, and it's you couldn't get it by him. I found it just amazing. He was the NHL MVP. He was the top goalie. And as we slip away from that era, people forget. They only remember certain things. But Dominic Hasek was fucking unreal. Now, you guys, like I just said, team tough, and everybody bought in. A lot of people on that team could have scored more, but they bought into a system. Now, what was it? What was the formula that got you guys to the final? I forget the path. I remember watching it in the final.
Like I said, I mean, Dominic Hasek, like honestly, the best goalie that I've ever played with and ever seen. Like he, they say unorthodox, but you look at now the way some goalies make their saves with the scorpion or the arm over the back, or he just did whatever it took to stop the puck.
Yeah.
And he in practice, if you hit him in the helmet, most goalies hated when you got hit in the helmet. He didn't care as long as he stopped the puck. Then he didn't care that it hit him in the head. Like
practice too. That's what I like to hear. Some goalies, I won't name them, just stand there in practice.
Yeah, no. He tries. Like if you score on him in pregame, he won't let you leave the ice until he stops you. So he'll have you shoot on him. And one game, I think he's told this story before too, is that one time he wasn't playing. So Curtis Brown and I stayed on after pregame skate, and because he wanted some breakaways and stuff. I mean, I think we shot 100 times and we didn't score. Like he was just that competitive, right?
Yeah, that's great to hear. And
then in terms of our path that year to the Stanley Cup, we beat Ottawa Senators in 4, and it was the first couple games in Ottawa. But they outshot us big time. But Dominic, he just stood on his head. And then I think, after winning those 2 games on the road, I think they were defeated. They were like, we're never going to score on this guy. And so we ended up beating them 4 straight. And then the next round we played, who was after that? Boston. We played Boston and we beat them in 6. And then in the conference finals, we played Toronto and we beat them in 5. And
I remember that.
And then we lost to Dallas with the no goal in Game 6, triple overtime.
Oh, fuck yeah. That was that year. Hey, by the way, so we could unpack that. If you're listening to this and you want to go check that out, the Brett Hull goal in the Stanley Cup finals. I guess that would have been 99.
Yeah.
It's a story in itself. Okay, that's wild. So did you get a conference champion ring?
No, we didn't. You get a trophy. You get like a mini trophy, which obviously I still have to this day. And but yeah, so we got that. But obviously the main thing was who wanted the ring, right, for the Stanley Cup. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, because that year there were so many goals that were being called back that were worse than that. Like just a big toe in the crease and it was no goal. And they were checking every goal against. And during that game I actually lost my edge a couple times. And when I was getting my skate sharpened, there was media just waiting to jump on the ice. And so as soon as that goal went in, the floodgates opened and that was it.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember that happening, but I couldn't recall the story surrounding it. In Tampa Bay, you played with Sheldon Keefe. Was it obvious he was going to be a coach? I played with Jesse Wallen in junior, and I could have told you then I would have bet the house. I would have bet the farm that Jesse Wallen is going to coach to some degree. Did you get that vibe from Keith?
So I only played with him so I was traded there the first year, and then the next year was the year I played with him. So, and I think I got traded 45, 50 games into the season. No, I didn't get to know him enough to know that he was going to coach in the NHL. I did cross paths with him. I believe I was in Florida, just on vacation or somewhere where we ran into each other at a mall. And he was telling me how he was coaching in the Ottawa Junior League, and I think he was having a lot of success there. And I guess his obviously his next goal was to move up, and he went to the Sioux and the OHL, and then from there he obviously went to the Marlies, and then it's been to the NHL since. So yeah, he's done a good job, and obviously he's passionate about it, and it's good to see.
Beauty. Okay, early 2000s, you played with Mario Lemieux, my favorite player to watch ever. I mean, just the grace, the elegance, the physical, everything. Not that he was overly physical, but people forget how big he was, and he used that reach, and you couldn't get in on him.
No,
I just absolutely. It's like, to me, watching Picasso paint. So how was it to play with him? And I mean, did anything stand out? I would have been speechless in the room.
Yeah, no, it was crazy because I was traded from Tampa to Pittsburgh, and that was the year he came out of retirement. So his first game that year was against the Leafs. I wasn't there yet, but I think he had 4 points that first game that he came back out of retirement, right? So, and then it's a weird feeling. I mean, you got him there, you got Yager there, you got Kovalev there. Marty Straka was there, Robert Lang was there, but obviously not to the capacity that those guys are, but still very good players. So I think you are, and I mean, this is my sixth season. So I mean, you're still in awe, right? He was actually my favorite player growing up. So now I'm here playing with them. That year we were in playoffs, and I was killing penalties with Mario, and actually scored a goal off of a 2-on-1. He fed it over to me, and I scored against the Sabres of all teams in that playoff round. So it was it was pretty cool, and it's weird. It's a strange thing because he's not just our captain or our leader, but he's also our owner. At the time, right? So it was definitely weird, but an amazing thing to be able to say that I got the chance to play with my boyhood idol. So
beautiful, good to hear. One more question in the 10, and then I just got a few quick ones, rapid fire randoms, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I know you've probably told this 1,000 times, and I do have more, but I'll keep you all day. We'll get you volume 2 maybe in 6 months.
Yeah.
Your brother, how did this? I know. I remember it. I didn't look this up, but I remember. I think he was playing for Hartford. Was it not your first time playing against each other? How did it play out when you guys were starting that fight?
Yeah.
Were you aware of the situation? Did you talk about it before? Or was this, just two hockey players going at it, and then you absorbed it in the box and figured?
No, so it was our first time ever playing against each other. It was my first year in the NHL, and obviously it was I think it was already his seventh season. It was so anyways, it was really weird because my teammates were asking me, "You're gonna fight your brother? You're gonna Michael Peca? You're gonna fight your brother?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna fight my brother. We're really close. This is a stupid question."
And you both, Keith came out as you're both high first round picks, and you both, you wouldn't have been asking that question in junior. It's your first year, so it must have been. Of course, why would I go just grab somebody?
Right? And then so even walking to the ring, there's the card sharks out there asking for autographs, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna fight your brother tonight?" I'm like, what is with this question? I don't get this, right? So sure enough, near the end of the second period, I get hit by one of his defensemen in the corner, Alexander Godinyak.
Yeah.
And I didn't like how he hit me. So I went back at him in front of their net, and you knocked him over, and my stick is kind of underneath, and I'm kind of pulling it away and spearing him and pulling it away and spearing him. And Sean Burke's their goalie, and he sees what's going on. So all of a sudden he blockers me in the head, and then I punch him, and then he punches me. And then as I go to swing again, Keith is on top of me. And he's like, and so they loved Keith in Hartford, and even throughout the game they're chanting Primo, Primo, and Teddy Nolan was our coach at the time. He's like, Preems, they're calling for you, so you're up, right? Your line's up, as a joke, right? But anyway, so we kind of get away in the corner, away from like the melee in front of the net. And Bob Bugner, who's one of my defensemen, comes over. He's like, "You guys aren't fighting. You guys are brothers. What are you doing? Stop! Like, you're not fighting." And so we kind of got away from everybody in the corner. And he goes, "What do you want to do?" And I said, I don't care." And so next thing you know, we're throwing punches. He's throwing, but he's not going through his punch, and but he's still hitting me in the helmet. And so now I'm getting pissed off, and I throw an uppercut that really, like, literally just misses him, and it skims his helmet. You can see his helmet go up, and then that's where he's kind of like, okay, this is getting serious, and throws me to the ground type thing. And so it's near the end of the period. So I go to my dressing room. He goes to his, and as soon as he goes to his dressing room, he picks up the phone and calls my parents. Yeah, so my dad is on the other end laughing, and Keith's like, I just want to apologize, like, like, I'm the older sibling, I should know better, it shouldn't have happened. And my one sister and my mom are there, and they start yelling, "Yeah, it shouldn't have happened. What are you doing? Like, you guys are brothers." Like, and so then my dad, stopped laughing pretty quickly, and said, "Listen, I get it. You guys are competitive, but just don't let it happen again." So it never did. I got some face washes in the future, but we never dropped the gloves again.
And it was actually a pretty good fight, pretty entertaining. I think looking back, it's such a unique, you fought your brother, and you, outside of everything, making a Stanley Cup final is very unique. Yep. Fighting your brother and playing on the team with the owner, those are two things that really, I don't know, like, those are such a small group of people can say those things. Really unique stuff. Okay, rapid fire randoms. Get you 5-6 more minutes. That's it. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, here we go. Wayne Primeau, rapid fire randoms. Death row. You've just committed murder for some reason. Now you're on death row. You've done this in Texas, of course, where the death penalty is still a thing. What do you have on your way out? Your last meal.
Ooh, my last meal. Oh my gosh. I don't eat a lot of it, but I'd probably say pizza.
Well, if you wouldn't have to watch your figure, you're going to die the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Favorite quote, if you have one.
If you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. No, just kidding.
Hey, that's not bad, though. It is usable, even though it's Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
You could have a superpower. What would it be?
Is being invisible? Is that one?
It certainly is. Yeah. And that could go either way. That could go creep fest, or you could use that to your advantage in so many different ways. My head went right there.
Yeah, you score a lot more goals if you're invisible, right? No one sees where you are, and you just put it in the net.
Interesting. Yeah. Contracts, but a lot of good could come from that. That would be one. That would be an interesting superpower. Most people say fly. Well, do you think it'll ever come to a point? In this era, I would have said 100%, not 30 years ago.
Right.
That someone in one of the sports will use a 3-number number, like 100, or like in baseball, will someone be number 111? Would someone be number 100?
I don't think so. I don't think they'll ever allow it.
I looked, and it's allowed in baseball. No one's ever
really?
done. There's no rule in basketball for or against. In baseball, there's. I looked into this a while ago. Not that I just find it interesting, and I think some jackass in this selfish era
world,
or me first world will probably do that. But who knows? It's
right. Yeah, you're right. Probably.
Okay, I don't even know. Most people our age have an injury. If you could, is there any one joint that you could improve and make your life a whole lot better?
Wow. I've been actually pretty fortunate. Obviously there's times when the knees hurt, or the hips hurt, or the back hurts, or I guess I would say like the hips probably.
Wow, that's great. I figured you'd be one of those to have like all kinds of shoulders, medial collaterals gone crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a big body, just getting through life. Favorite building to play on the road? Now you played literally on a quarter of the teams.
Yeah.
This is
Thanks.
3/4 of the league. Nowhere that you played home.
Yeah, I always Montreal is always pretty cool place to go in as a visitor. I always find that their music's always great. It's loud. Their fans are always on their feet or cheering or whatever. So I'd say Montreal.
Yeah, there's a vibe. Do you enjoy taking trains?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I the last game of the season when I was with the Leafs, we actually took the train from Toronto to Montreal
Love that.
for the last game. I thought it was pretty cool actually way to travel. So yeah.
I wish they did it more, to be honest. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. We did it the same to Toronto and to Ottawa once in a while.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's the funniest TV show of all time?
The funniest show of all time. Oh man. Like movie or show?
TV show.
Man. You've caught me off guard here.
There's a lot of good ones. For me, not that you asked, but I think it'd probably be in no order, but I like Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development. I like The Office. There's a lot of good ones. There's
a lot. I can't pinpoint one. Sorry about that one.
What about movie?
I mean, I always liked Will Ferrell movies. I find him pretty funny, to be honest. So, or Adam Sandler. I like his movies. I find he's got some funny stuff too.
I love those guys because the movie can suck, but you still laugh. Some of them are great, but even if they're in a stinker, they still. There's something about Will Ferrell, man. You just look at him and you start laughing.
Yeah. So no particular one, but anyone with those guys in it, I find that there's a lot of funny ones.
Favorite non-hockey athlete ever?
Favorite hockey athlete?
No, non-hockey.
No, non-hockey athlete. I'd probably say Michael Jordan. I've always been a huge fan of him and the success and everything that he's done on and off the court. I mean,
yeah, man.
I mean, he's yeah, he was. I mean, as a kid, I wasn't a huge basketball fan, but I loved watching the Bulls and Jordan, and I actually enjoyed watching the Pistons and Isaiah Thomas. Like, they obviously had a rivalry and stuff.
Fuck, did they ever?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say Michael Jordan.
For anybody listening that hasn't seen The Last Dance, check it out. I liked Jordan already.
Yeah.
I love him after that. What a fucking leader. Favorite sports jersey ever? Any sports jersey, could be hockey. It's up to you.
Sports jersey. Blue Jays.
Nice. I love how the Jays get away with having like 16 home uniforms too.
It's the baby blue Blue Jays jersey. Those are my favorite.
They've just the marketing team must love it. You go to Yankees. Yankees have like one. It's just pinstripes and the gray ones, and the Jays have pink ones. They have their Canada Day jerseys that. Last year they wore like 26 games.
Yeah.
Every different kind of blue. Now they've got black, red with the skyline across.
Yeah.
Fucking wild how they get away with it. But I love it. I love going to Jays games. I always have. Last question.
Yeah.
76 NHL goals. What's the most memorable one?
I'd probably say Stanley Cup Finals against Dallas, Game 1. In front of the net. Just again, there's nothing better than people ask me you missed the game, and the three things that I say when I miss it is obviously the paychecks were nice. Second, playoff time of year. I find there's nothing like playoff hockey, and third is the guys, the camaraderie, and being around and in the dressing room and stuff like that. But yeah, I would probably say Stanley Cup goal.
Now that is a fantastic answer and one great question to end on. Do you have anything to promote before we go?
No. I mean, right now I'm a partner in a company called Super Series Hockey, which is youth hockey tournaments throughout North America. We have some in Canada. Majority are in the States. We have one in Boston in September called the Boston Breakout, where we have 250 plus teams that come to it. So youth teams out there looking for tournaments, check out Super Series Hockey.
Okay, perfect. Wayne Primeau, thanks for doing this. I'm sure I'll see you at an event soon, and have a great weekend and summer.
Thanks, TR.
There you have it, Wayne Primeau. What a guy, what a career. Check out Wayne's Hockey DB. There's a lot I didn't ask him. I'd love to get him back on again, but I promised him a half hour. We've been on for almost 50 minutes. But yeah, this guy's a real interesting cat and played with some of the legends of the game, and I really appreciate that he came on with us here today. Folks, if you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, why not check out Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, Martini Bar, Green Sleeves, and of course, the Bull and Barrel. If you want a bite to eat, I'd start at the Loose Tie. I'd go to Blue on Water. And of course, I'd check out Wedgwood Cafe, also available for catering. I was going to work out. Strength, balance for the body and mind. Ryan Power, Power Conditioning on Rope Walk Lane. Check it out. If you're an elite athlete, if you're an up-and-coming athlete, this is perfect for you, but you don't have to be. Ryan has classes for everybody. Check it out, Ryan Power, Power Conditioning. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations. We're right here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Torbay Road, Kinmount Road, Live, Laugh, Lube. True Hockey, take what's yours. Crown Cabinets, why not? Loves me Crown Cabinets. And of course, Muggsy Jeans. I loves me comfy, stretchy, Muggsy Jeans. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community out west. Thank you very much, folks, for listening. Thank you to Wayne Primeau, and we'll see you guys in just a few days. Catch you on the rebound.